Hello. Oh,
Oh, oh,
oh, oh, oh, ah.
ah,
Hello, everyone. Good
yeah.
evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Dickie.
Good evening, Ollie. How are you, sir?
Oh, I mustn't grumble.
Mustn't grumble, but you probably will.
Mm, mm.
Welcome one. Welcome one and all to a certificate 15 edition of Roaring Railway Routes, according to the classification there that's on the corner. I think that might be a speed limit. I'm not entirely sure, Ollie. What do you think?
I think it's 15 because it's 50 years old now because, of course, you can't get on off this train. It's a bit like Logan's Run. Once you go
Oh,
over a
yes.
certain age, yes, then you are executed, sadly.
Good Lord. Well, for the purists, just a quick one to let you know, we're on a class 444029, which is a southwestern train. It's from the Milton stock. It's 10 carriage and it's a bog standard electric shunter. And would you like to reveal, Ollie, where we're going today?
I believe we're going to Southampton, Dickie.
We are indeed. We are travelling from London Waterloo, not east, of course. We're starting from the mothership, as it were, of London Waterloo, and we're travelling all the way down to Southampton. It's a lovely journey, this one, isn't it, Ollie?
Oh, it's absolutely lovely. And you didn't mention, of course, this train is the only train on this particular network that has an electric shower.
Yes. First class only, of course. You must provide your own towels. But yes, I have used that shower. If I would say that the power ratio water is fair to middling. I know for a fact that I've left Wimbledon station 20 minutes into said journey with a slightly sort of frothy shampoo still in my hair. So
yes, I remember seeing you once and thinking you were the anti-shaft.
Right. Yes. I remember you shouting that across the street. It completely startled me. I had no idea that you'd be there. And then I, of course,
you only had a towel on, of course.
Yes, of course. Yes, I left my clothes in the blasted shower, hadn't I? I was because I heard they were announcing the stop, and I thought I've timed this really bad because I started showering at Vauxhall, and by the time I got past Clapham, I knew I had to get out of the shower. Oh, dear.
Awful.
Yes.
Of course, the interesting thing about... Sorry, go on.
No, please do.
I was going to say the interesting thing about Southampton, of course, is that when I was managing the band Living in a Box...
Yes, Living in a Box. I'm living in a cardboard box.
That's right. That's what their song. I wrote that.
You actually wrote that, did you, Ollie?
I did, yes. It was taken from the time where in the early 70s I had a small ventriloquist act.
Oh, gosh, yes, I seem to remember you mentioning this in passing.
Yeah, I had a doll called Dr. Finkles.
Dr.
Finkles?
And
we used to come on stage and I'd say, yes, I would say, he's living in a box, and then his little head would poke out and say, I'm living in a cardboard box. And you've got to laugh every time.
Of course, wonderful. Oh, I say, that must have... How long did you do that act for?
3 weeks.
So not that long, really, when it comes to a professional ventriloquist act.
No, Dr. Finkles, unfortunately, was lost in a house fire.
Oh, good Lord. That must have been absolutely awful for you. Did you have a private funeral?
We did, yes. We buried him. We buried him in the back of Roy Castle's garden.
Oh, well, that's rather charitable of Roy to allow that to happen. I'm rather surprised, actually, it was a burial. I would have thought naturally it would have been, the old fiery, because he was sort of, ashes by the time you probably scooped him into a box. Are you there, Ollie? Oh, no. Oh, dear. We seem to be having a little bit of a time lag, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. Can you hear me, Ollie?
I can hear you perfectly well, yes.
Wonderful. Now, for the purists, I will say that this route, what is the time duration? It's about 1 hour 17. Is that right, Ollie? Am I right there?
That's right. 1 hour 17 minutes to the letter, yes.
Yeah, so this is the fast route, and we will be passing through a few miserable old stops, but some of the highlights, of course, include Isley, Shincross, the wonderful West Portland, and we'll also be dashing through Shalley, and we may, if we're lucky, get a lovely look at Brigden St. Lyme.
Oh, well, that would be lovely, wouldn't it?
That would be an absolute joy if we could get a good view of Brigden St. Lyme.
Did I ever tell you the annoying thing that Roy Castle used to do?
No, but please, I think you may have told me, but for the listeners, please do elucidate.
Well, back in those days, one would have dinner parties, of course, and invite your peers to come round for a dinner party. And Roy would often disappear before the last main course, because we used to have this thing where we had 2 starters, 2 main courses, and 2 last courses. He'd disappear before the last one, and you wouldn't find him for at least 7 minutes. And then in the end, we'd have to send out a sort of search party, and you'd always find him in the music room where I had all my hi-fi or my super hi-fi stereo system, and Roy would be in there with a toffee hammer smashing all of my vinyl.
Good Lord!
And
why would he do that?
Well, because he'd come in and he'd say, I've always enjoyed being a record breaker. And that was supposed to be funny, of course, but he'd cost me a fortune.
I was going to say that must have cost you an absolute fortune for a rather weak joke.
Oh, it's awful. He'd do it to everybody.
Did he ever pay you for said damages, or was that just accepted as good Lord?
And he'd then smash the window and jump out.
I know, and I seem to remember you told me that once he was at a party of yours, and he stole a flute that you had on the wall, which I believe was a gift to you from Sacha Distel.
That's quite right, yes.
So he took that, probably pawned it, didn't he?
Well, actually, I heard that he did try and pawn it, but before he pawned it, he used to put it up Norris McWhirter's arsehole.
Ollie, really no.
And play Le Marseillaise. And with Norris being a patriotic Frenchman, he wasn't French, but he pretended he was a patriotic Frenchman. Of course, he would always stand up and hold his vast hand to his chest. His hand is always stained in bloody biro. And of course, with the flute up his jacksie, it was very unpleasant.
Good Lord, I had no idea that this sort of thing went on. But, I mean, there for the grace of God go a lot of those light entertainers. I mean, the whole U-Tree investigation has really unearthed a lot of rotters over the years, hasn't it? Yes? Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right. Now, I have to say...
the biggest...
Well, I was just going to say before you carry it, because I absolutely adore all these stories that you have, Ollie, about your showbiz chums, even if they are a little blue and risque. But I don't mind hearing them.
Right.
But I'm just going to say we have picked up a couple of fans already, Ollie. Isn't that lovely? Fans of the show.
That is lovely. Yes.
Yes. I'm just going through Earlsfield, and this is why I wanted to mention it, because a viewer who saw the last show. Was very excited when I leaked it on MySpace that we were doing this particular route from Waterloo down to Southampton because and her name's Katie Dyer, and she said I'm very excited about tonight's show because this is the actual route that I take when I go to work. So this must be simultaneously wonderful for her, yet at the same time rather boring because obviously she does this route all the time. Are you there, Ollie? I think we froze for a brief moment there.
I think we did, yes. I just heard you said we had a fan. Go on.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, yes. There's a fan called Katie Dyer. Can you still hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, you can. Lovely. And she's a big fan of the show. And this is the actual route that she takes to work. So she's very happy that we're doing it. I mean, it must be simultaneously fun for her and also extremely boring if she does this route all the time. But she's got a lovely job. Did you know that Katie is she and a team of wonderful sort of charity-based people. Are you still there, Ollie?
Yes, yes.
You're still there. Well, Katie and her friends, they actually go out into the community and give bikini waxes for homeless lesbians.
Oh, that's lovely.
Isn't that lovely?
That
and
is-
she's still
is.
doing it now, even during COVID restrictions. Which you've got to have a steady hand to do a bikini wax 2 meters away. And she apparently she just sellotapes the razor onto the end of a broom and just sort of makes do.
Well, that's just jolly decent, isn't it?
It's extremely decent that sort of thing is still going on despite this rather dreadful pandemic.
It was good about keeping and carrying on, as they say.
Absolutely, yes. So how's been the last week for you, Ollie? It's been an absolute disaster on my end. I don't mind telling you.
Well, it's been relatively quiet, if I'm honest. I had to move. I had a new lodger this week. A guy by the name, you might know him. His name's Craig David.
Oh, I see. Yes, Craig David. Wasn't he always I think he's got a mild case of OCD. He's always talking about the days of the week.
That's right. Yes. He coming down for breakfast on a Monday. And I do a very nice full breakfast, full English breakfast. Of course,
you do a wonderful breakfast, Ollie. And I tell you what I admire about your breakfast is you insist on 3 sausages. Different types. You get a Lincolnshire, you get a sage and onion, and then you've got your wonderful Cumberland.
That's right, yes. So he comes down and he walks into the kitchen and he says, "I'm eating one of your sausages on a Monday." And then I don't hear another peep out of him all day.
Right.
And then Tuesday morning he comes down and he says, "I'm going to have a bit of egg on Tuesday."
Oh, this must be ghastly for you, Ollie, having to deal with all of this.
And then he carries this on, and then Thursday and Friday he makes love for his breakfast.
Oh,
and
good
then
Lord.
The rest of the weekend I don't see him.
Ooh, does he eat it afterwards?
Yes, it's disgusting.
I say, isn't it?
I mean, my poor cockapoo.
Well, absolutely. In other terms, you don't want to be sticking your junk into your into your beans. Good Lord.
No, absolutely not. That's the place for toast and normal sausages.
Well, yeah, quite frankly, sexual congress, stroke mutual masturbation, close brackets, and all day breakfast are two separate events.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I did speak to him. I knocked on his door on the Monday.
Right.
And of course he didn't answer. I knocked on his door on the Tuesday.
Right.
And of course he didn't answer. So I rang his phone on the Wednesday.
Oh, God, I dread to think what's going to happen to you by the weekend.
Well, I'm sad to say that he'd done a bunk. He'd left without paying any rent, the sod.
Oh, now that's extremely shoddy behaviour, isn't it, Ollie?
It is.
He's got he's got the odd wodge of fivers in his back pocket, for God's sake.
Well, yes, he has. I saw them when he was dry cleaning his underpants.
Oh dear. Well, you don't need that. So we're just passing through Surbiton there, which for those people who need to know is where my bitch of a sister did a calligraphy course back in the early 90s.
Well, Dickie, you may dislike her, but her handwriting by the end of that was exemplary.
It was exemplary. No, you're absolutely right. She was one of those protesters that used to get involved with people like Swampy. And she used to spend days sat up trees or in aqueducts and stopping bypasses being built. Because one of the things that she stopped being built was bloody railway lines, Ollie.
Which is one of the reasons why I won't talk to her anymore.
No, well, I don't blame you. I don't talk to her at all. She's an absolute harridan. But she did have, I have to say, out of all of those crusty little bastards that used to hang out in sycamore trees and ruin bypasses and rain routes, she had the most wonderful signs because of her penmanship.
No, she certainly did.
She
also was the only.
No, go on, please.
I was going to say she was the only person I knew who had a pet otter.
Yes. For many years, she had a pet otter. Of course, she had to, sell the otter because she didn't have any natural water source near her in her flat at the time. She just kept it in the bath,
It was terribly miserable and malnourished, wasn't it?
Yes, it was not a happy otter. I didn't even think she really knew how to feed it. I think she used to feed it kitty cat, which I don't think is the right thing to do.
No,
because
and
I think
noodles.
Yes, exactly. Yes, absolutely. Super noodles or whatever. I don't think otters live on super noodles in the wild. Do you?
No. I don't think they do.
No, they don't. Anyway, enough of my stupid sister. Yes, she's gone all doolally with this whole COVID nonsense, and she's gone down the sort of mad hole. She's a sort of anti-vaxxer and an anti-this and anti-that. I always knew she would be. She's got a sign in her window that just says "fuck the police." But again, the penmanship is absolutely par excellence.
Well, this is true. I heard that a policeman was walking past, and he actually stopped and applauded the penmanship.
Yes, people on the street have actually stopped to applaud. But she's that sort of person. She'll be walking down the street. You'll see a homeless man with a piece of cardboard saying, "Need food and shelter," and she'll whip that sign out of his hand, and the poor old fellow's like, "Gosh, what have I done?" And then she'll be back 20 minutes later, and it's all done in Times New Roman or sort of slanting Helvetica, and apparently the man
who was also very often nice to the homeless people.
Oh no, who?
The dear old Leslie Grantham.
Oh, was he now?
Well,
that's an endearing thought.
He used to. I mean, I didn't see this myself, but someone told me this, and take it with a pinch of artificial sweetener, if you will. He was known to drive his old Jaguar round London, and if he saw a homeless young lady, he would offer her a lift.
Oh no, isn't that sweet?
Isn't it? He'd say, "Come in out of the cold. I'll give you something to eat."
Yes.
And you know what? They must have been very comfortable because they were never seen again.
Ah, yes. Well, obviously took them to some secure lodgings.
Yes.
And moved on to the next and just kept collecting them. What a lovely man.
Just absolutely. I mean, it's the best of humanity there because those people were cold. They were malnourished. They were sad. And Leslie brought them into his very warm leather-seated Jaguar, and obviously took them to a better place.
Isn't that wonderful? And we always tend to remember him in his sort of last days where he was flashing his junk online, I believe.
Yes, I believe that was all an admin error, though.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I hope so. I mean, I don't have a bad word to say about the Grantham.
No, me neither.
No.
After I heard about that supreme offer of because people, the thing is, Dicky, people see homeless people and they just think they're scum. But Leslie looked at them and he thought, I want to help these people.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I remember my sister has often put a placard in front of a homeless person saying, "I'm scum," and of course, you want to go, "Good Lord!" But again, that beautiful penmanship, the way that she writes it, you almost applaud it. You're like, "Good Lord," swings and roundabouts, really.
Yeah, which is obviously what her nickname was.
Yes, at school. Yes, we won't go into that because obviously for legal reasons. Now, I don't know if you notice on the just on the left, just above the trees, you just saw the top of a high rise, and I know for a fact that's where Jeffrey Archer used to live before he got very famous in the 60s. He had a penthouse at the top there, but he was actually chucked out of. Oh yes, Byfleet. That's it. Byfleet in Newhall. He got chucked out of his home because he was caught by the Rozzers, I believe, or some sort of local community policing group. There's no real lovely way to put this, but apparently he sort of was doing a dirty protest down one of the bay windows.
Oh God.
Yes, apparently he was in his kimono and he lifted the top of the kimono and put his arse cheeks directly against the glass and then released a dirty protest.
What was he protesting against, Dickie?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think anyone ever. I mean, a lot of people just assume that he was angry at a critic for a book, but nobody really
Don't
got
take
to
it out on the
bottom.
building, for goodness sake.
Well, no, exactly, no. Of course, you don't realize he's not going to clean up that. He'll get the cleaner in and come up with some feeble excuse.
He'll probably say it's his new book.
Yes, there you go. Yes. A load of old, and it's completely see through. But enough about the window. What about my book? Yes. Yeah. You're right. Are you okay, Ollie?
Oh yes.
Yes. And of course, the other thing I know about Byfleet is that's where my bitch of a twin sister had an affair with a Peloton instructor.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry she did, and it was the rest of the family that had to deal with the fallout, not her.
What happened to him in the end?
The instructor.
Yes.
Oh, I have absolutely. Do you know what? I kept as far a distance from all this as I could. I really did, because she drags me into these ridiculous sordid affairs of hers. And I somehow become embroiled in it and guilty by association. And I do my utmost to just go, I don't want to be involved, Selena.
Now, I did hear a disquieting rumor that I've been meaning to tell you for a while. And I think now's about the best time for it. Is it true? You don't have to tell me if it's not.
Right.
But is it true? Someone in the club told me that this particular instructor was eaten by a Godzilla. Now, I don't know if that's true.
I was CC'd on an email about this very thing. I immediately thought, Godzilla's fictional, isn't he? I mean, he can't be real. But then apparently some Japanese, a boffin got involved and said, no. The Komodo dragon, can get to quite alarming lengths, and it could be a quasi-species of a Godzilla. And, apparently he got bit. He was doing a squat thrust in a place he shouldn't, and he got bit by a Komodo, which, of course, has a gangrene-based bite. And he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything about it. Just put some Savlon on, and just got on with it. And then a few weeks later, a leg came off, and then he sort of eventually died of sepsis.
Oh dear, that's awful. Was there
Absolutely.
any kind of funeral? Was this?
Yes, no, there was a funeral, but it was Peloton based, and the whole thing was done on bicycles, and they literally sort of pelted past the graveyard at 100 miles an hour and sort of threw him into the hole.
Oh well, that's some sort of dignity, I suppose.
Well, it's what he would have wanted, or at least that's what they thought he would have wanted. Again, I wasn't at the funeral. I washed my hands of the whole perishing affair.
No, yes. Quite right.
Yes. Now, we're sort of a good 25, 30 minutes in now into the journey. We're sort of leaving the sort of outer limits of London now, aren't we, on our way to Southampton?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely lovely. And it's a beautiful day when this was filmed. I believe this was filmed in 2017, this particular footage.
That's right, by David Cronenberg.
By David Cronenberg. I'm so glad that you said so, because I was waiting. I was rather hoping I was going to sort of shock you, but you, of course, Ollie, you knew.
Well, I was at a dinner party with him 2 nights before this was filmed.
Good Lord, were you?
Yeah, it was at Bobby Davro's house. And Bobby, being a keen train enthusiast, was keen to show off the director, David Cronenberg. Right. And it was an awful night, Dickie, because Bobby just sat at the head of the doing impressions of Robin Williams.
Oh, how ghastly.
Yes, he'd say, I can't do the impression. He'd say, have you met my friend David? All right. And then he'd just veer into Michael Barrymore. And then he'd run around the table pretending he was a chicken. And poor old David couldn't believe, you could see the look on his face. He was thinking, I bloody made Scanners.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly. I made bloody scanners, pass the cheese board, and wind your neck in with you, Bobby D.
But he kept on. Bobby went on until 3 a.m. We were all
Bobby,
outside waiting for taxis, and he was leaning out of the bathroom window while urinating,
Oh no.
doing an impression of Sir Patrick Moore. And David Cronenberg just turned to me and said, "Who the fuck's Patrick Moore?"
Well, yes,
And I
how's he
said, "I'm
supposed
sorry."
to? Oh gosh, yes. I remember once. A friend of a friend went to a dinner party with him, and he kept doing his African and Indian elephant impression, where he takes out the pockets from his jeans and then reveals the trunk, as it were. And I remember, I think it was Rusty Lee who was dining with him at the time, saying that he put his cock in the Viennetta, and she wasn't having it.
No, that's right. Luckily, he had a spare one.
Well, yes, of course, yes.
For such occasions.
Nobody wants a Viennetta that's been slightly dented by a flaccid penis.
No.
I think we are cutting out a little bit, Ollie, but I think where we are, it's okay. I don't think we have to worry so much.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I had to log in this evening with my Commodore 64, so sorry about that.
Oh no, did you? Yes. Well, I'm still having intermittent problems with my Wi-Fi in the shed at the bottom of the garden. It's been, I tell you what, this week, Ollie, has been an absolute nightmare for Dicky
still
Moon.
in the shed, of course. Yes,
still in the shed. Because the flooding, a sort of couple of days after our last show, started to abate. But then we got hit with 3 days of continuous snow. And the snow got to the point where I couldn't even open up the window or the door. Constantine had an absolute nightmare. Constantine, my lodger, who's looking after the bungalow, he had an absolute nightmare because, as I told you last time, he's got a rudimentary pulley system for getting basic foodstuffs across. And icicles and ice had formed on that. And, of course, nothing could get across at all. Nothing. So he resorted, which I thought was rather good fun. He resorted to putting drinks or loose base things like oats, etc., into balloons.
Right.
And which worked at first. So he would partially inflate a balloon, and then with a judicious use of a funnel, used to put some oats in it, and then he would then sort of put it onto string and sort of casually float that across, and then the next balloon would be full of milk. And then I could warm it up on my camper stove, and I'd have a lovely porridge for breakfast. Yes, but unfortunately, he was sending me over a balloon full of Ribena toothkind, and as it floated over towards my shed island, it burst, and I was hit full on in the face with Ribena toothkind, a bright red scarlet explosion.
Oh God!
I, of course, screamed in shock and panic, and unfortunately fell out of the stilted shed and fell directly into what I thought was a snowy cushion-based fall, but passed through the snow into the frozen water underneath, and directly onto a sundial, which is at the bottom of my garden, which is now, of course, completely underwater. And the sundials, the sort of metallic iron triangle of the sundial went right through my the gap between my little toe and second little toe, and sort of sheared through to about an inch.
Oh God!
Yes, and so now I was covered in Ribena toothkind, and blood now flowing profusely from the wound. Luckily, the cold water had numbed the pain to some point. I, of course, hobbled back into the shed and elevated my foot, but I was bleeding quite profusely at that stage.
I suppose you could say things went rather south, Dickie.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right, Ollie. And I kept the foot raised on a sort of tower I made of Angler magazines that I collected over the years, but the blood wouldn't stop, and I didn't have any medication. I didn't have any. I mean, I had a couple of Settler's Tums, but I don't think that does anything for big wounds like that. I mean, I had some Rennie, but that's indigestion. So the best I could do to sort of cover the wound and hope that it helped is I did have a pot of natural yogurt. So I covered the bloody stump and the gash in natural yogurt and just thought, well, it's organic. That'll do, won't it? Can you hear me, Ollie?
I can now, yes.
Okay, yes. Sorry, I don't know if it cut out, but I covered the wound in natural yogurt.
No, that's a good idea.
Yes, I thought, well, it's organic. That'll do the trick.
You know who used to swear by that?
No.
Brian Jacks.
Good Lord, really?
After every judo match he would have,
Right.
if he was particularly bruised or cut or even, injured in some way, he would rub natural yogurt, onto the afflicted area.
Oh, well, yes.
But of course, things came to a head with him when I visited.
No, go on.
Things came to a head with Brian when I visited his judo dojo, and there was no answer. So I went to the back room, and he was fornicating with a duck.
Oh, good Lord! Oh no! Oh, Ollie, you do meet some of the most strange people in your showbiz career, don't you?
When you get that high up the ladder, sometimes you lose some of your moral
fiber. Compass.
Yes.
No, you're right. The problem I had with the natural yogurt on the elevated wound was it was a Muller corner, and of course it was sod's bloody law, but it was lemon and lime, and I that stung like hell.
Oh, I bet it did.
Yes, all that little flavour from the corner went right down into the wound, and lemon directly into an open wound is the last thing you need.
Oh God, yes, absolutely. I mean,
Yes,
you'll not have scurvy, but
no, no.
Oh.
So I fell into sort of a bit of a fitful, fervent sleep with my leg elevated, and I woke up the next day, and my entire foot was covered in flies and spiders and all sorts of insects that were attracted to the natural yogurt. So I cleaned off the wound, and it was just a pulsing mess of blood, sinew, spiders, earwigs, centipedes, and lemon and lime citron. Dipping sauce. The whole thing was. I mean, it's all right now. The foot's gone a little bit sort of purple, but I can weight bear on it. So I presume everything's all right.
I think purple's a fairly natural color for the human.
It's a healing color, isn't it? It's a healing color. Yes. And as I say, I can weight bear on it for a couple of minutes. So I think it's on the mend. I don't want to be bothering the NHS now.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, you know what? Funnily enough, Dickie, I was thinking about you the other day because I was thinking, what have I missed most during this particular lockdown?
Yes.
While I wait for my vaccine, and I realised what I missed most was a train journey.
I concur, Ollie. I concur. Yes.
Because Absolutely. I've got a little train in my garden, but it only goes 4 feet.
Yes, I know. But I tell you what, it's absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful miniature train, and it is stunning. And it's the train. I believe it's an exact replica of the Russian train that James Bond himself found himself trapped in Octopussy.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yes, the circus train.
It's exactly an exact scale replica. It even has a tiny nuclear device in the back.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, that's wonderful.
I just thought, what's the point of going 60% accurate?
Go the 100.
Yeah, I just thought the worst that'll happen, because it's a scale model, if the bloody thing goes off, then we'll probably just lose the gazebo and some trees. But
absolutely. And you were such a purist about it, you even managed to get a little macaque to go in it to represent the gorilla that was in the original film. I remember that. Of course, then the RSPCA.
That's right, and I also
they had to take it away. The RSPCA.
They had to.
But it was a lovely,
bit embarrassing.
Yes, but it was a lovely touch, I thought.
Except that every night that a bloody little thing used to go up on the bird table, of course, and
Yes.
masturbate.
Yes, well, they are prone to that, macaques. They are one of the randiest of the primates, I believe.
I'm afraid so. Yes.
Second only to the bonobo, which apparently spends. I mean, cats spend 3/4 of their time sleeping. A bonobo will spend 3/4 of his life wanking.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, they're the only primate that does that sort of thing for pleasure.
Yes, no, absolutely, yes. It's not for procreation. They literally, I mean, if I was to do the secret diary of Adrian Bonobo, age 13 3/4, it would go like this: woke up, had a yam, wanked forever, went to bed.
That's right. Yes. Yes. And he certainly wouldn't mind about being in love with Pandora.
No, absolutely not. Good Lord. So yes, I've had a right to do an hoo-ha at home. I'm completely snowed in now. The water's still there. Constantine is doing his best, to keep everything going in the bungalow. But he's out of work because he's a clown. He's a clown as a living. But now he's doing all his clowning online, and of course it doesn't help with his, with the language barrier and that scar. But he's doing his best. But he's barely making £60 to £80 a week.
Good God.
Yes, it's awful at the moment. I'm not making. Well, I'm making a little bit of money, but with my occasionally dip into the witch archives, and I'll occasionally do an update, and of course I've got a lovely pension and obviously a lovely generous payback after the accident. So I'm doing fine, but I'm fed up with bloody pot noodles and porridge oats, quite frankly.
I mean,
I've
thank
tried.
God that.
Yes.
I'll say thank God for residuals, Dickie.
Oh,
otherwise
good
I'd
Lord,
be
yes.
up a creek without a paddle, I tell you.
I know. I remember you texted me yesterday saying that you got £3.50 for some tenuous involvement you had with the Nolans.
That's right. Yes, they were going to call the song "I'm in the Mood for Dancing."
Right.
They were going to call it "I'm in the Mood for."
Oh,
said,
and make it a little bit saucy.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Everyone's going to fancy you anyway. Don't worry. Totally innocent. You're just in the mood to dance, not to run up a flagpole with your knickers down.
Yes, I don't mind if they alluded with the and made it saucy, but it was the fact that several of the Nolans would when they got to the bit, they would simultaneously break into a little sort of dance movement that sort of looked a little bit like fellatio.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
And unfortunately, one of the band was dead against it and said, "I'm really bored of singing these songs. I'd rather make a film where we get into people's heads, into their dreams." And I said, "Christopher, go your own way, live your dreams." And I think
let your sisters fly because you're absolutely right. Yes. Yes. No, you're absolutely right.
And I believe he made a PD Tips advert.
Yes, no, he did. Yeah, and it was wonderful, I believe. Now, I'm at a rather exciting stage of the evening where I am ready to open, and I know I've sent you a bottle, and I know you've received it because I got an email from Parcel 4 saying you've received it. I have delivered you a bottle, and I've got mine now, of my homemade Damson wine, which I've been brewing.
I'm drinking it now.
Yes, and I'm now going to open it. There we go, and I'm going to have the first taste of my Damson wine. This is a spring. This is a spring 2019, so it should have matured enough now to be an absolute treat. So I'm just going to give it a slurp, if you don't mind.
Oh, go please.
Okay, here we go. Dickie Moon's homemade Damson wine. Here we go. Oh, that's a bit brackish. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Yes, but a little bit brackish.
It has made my nose bleed. Is that normal for
Yes, no, that's fine.
Wine?
No, that's absolutely fine. If your nose bleeds a little, I believe that's something to do with the tannin. It's very brackish.
Did I ever tell you the time when Arthur Mullard came into the studio while I was recording Live Aid?
No, Ollie, you haven't. Please elucidate.
We were recording Do They Know It's Christmas? You know, that very famous song.
Yes,
We were waiting for Status Quo.
Yes.
And the doors opened and we thought, oh, good, we can begin now. Status Quo are coming on.
Yes.
And it was Arthur bloody Mullard. And he came in and he shouted, whose chair is this? I've just broken my clock weights on it. And I didn't know what he meant.
Yes.
And I turned to Pepsi and Shirley and I said, what the devil are clock weights? And they said, I'll ask Martin Kemp. And he came back and he said, it means testicles. And I'd never heard that. And it turns out he'd gone into the cafe at the studio thinking it was a normal cafe.
Yes.
And he'd sat on Le Mal.
Oh no! Oh good Lord!
He sat on Le Mal and he thought Le Mal was a chair and he threw him on the floor. And it was very, very embarrassing.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. So, and just for the purists, we're just passing now through Shin-Cross. Oh, wait, look, I don't know if we're stopping. Yes, I think we. No, we're not stopping at Shin-Cross. We're going straight through Shin-Cross there.
I think this is the station when a train doesn't stop. People just wait there interminably. Oh,
that might be the Shin-Cross stop. Yes, yes. No train has ever stopped at Shin-Cross.
And there's that man in the orange there. He used to work at Parcel Force in Chingford.
Oh, did he? Oh, you know him? Oh, no.
Yes.
My mistake. Look, we've stopped.
We're moving again.
Well, okay. So, yes, of course. It pulls in, it slows down, it stops, but it never opens the doors.
No, that's right. It's famous for it, that station. Famous for
it. Yeah, okay. Well, that's good, because I thought we were about to eat humble pie there, Ollie. Us going on about...
British rail train, Dickie.
Never eat a British rail pie.
Especially one with humble written on it. It's,
no, good Lord. No,
wasn't humble a cat.
The only pie that Dickie Moon would like to get his teeth into is a pie that belongs to Kate Humble. Sorry. So we are now continuing along our route. We've gone through Shin-Cross. I think we passed Isley. We didn't even mention it, but we still have West Portland, Shalley, and Brigden St. Lyme to enjoy. This is a beautiful part of the world here, isn't it?
My friend Henry, who's a property developer, he wanted to build a swimming pool here.
Right.
But he wasn't allowed.
Oh, no. Why is that?
Because he wanted to build it in a bit of protected land. It was like a green belt.
Oh, and he wanted to turn it into a blue belt, as it were.
Yeah, he wanted to make it a kind of nudist swimming pool.
And, of course, the planners refused, etc., etc.
That's right. He got into a bit of red tape over that.
Yeah, well, yes, you would, yes.
So, in the end, he moved it to France. Right.
Well, yes, that's the best place for it, really, isn't it?
I mean, if Keith Harris hadn't have died, he had quite a bit of traction with the local council.
Yes, well, a lot of people don't know that Keith Harris was a very keen nudist, wasn't he?
He was. In fact, when he used to turn up, Orville wouldn't have any feathers.
No, well, I heard that he went really meta and purist, and because he used to perform in nudist sites, didn't he, old Keith?
He did, yes.
Because he's very much part of the scene. And he used to just turn up with no puppet at all and go, "How's that for naked?" And
he would never sit on a white sofa.
No, well, no, he couldn't, of course, unless you had people with with some domestos and a J cloth at hand. Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yes, I remember seeing him at a nudist colony. I did once go to a nudist colony, but I did insist on wearing a Dickie bow tie.
Oh, well, that's very wise.
I just thought a Dickie bow just sets me apart, really, and makes me feel comfortable.
I insisted on wearing a pair of trousers, and they kicked me out.
Well, they would. You see, they are absolutely draconian when it comes to nudity. I said, "Do you mind if I could put a napkin over my gentleman area during dinner? Because for 2 successive nights, I burnt the tip of my penis on scampi, and I just thought I've had enough." They said, "No, you may not, but you may use." One of the dipping bowls with some lukewarm water that you can put between your legs on the chair, and you can, dip your penis in should you feel the need. But it slightly sort of made the whole experience a bit tawdry, as far as I was concerned.
I mean, you lose all sense of dignity when you're dipping your old fellow into a bowl of condiments, don't you, really?
Yes, or the lukewarm water. Of course, also the other thing is it's a nightmare when it comes to paying at a restaurant in a nudist colony because you haven't got your wallet on you, so you just don't know what to do.
Well, Keith, you see, he used to keep all his cards in Orville.
I heard that, and he used to keep his checkbook up Cuddles, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah, because he'd say, Cuddles used to say, as a joke, he'd say, "I hate that cash."
Yes, I hate that cash.
It never worked.
Yes,
it
yes.
never worked.
No.
Never worked.
Well, no one got the joke because they didn't know that he was keeping all of his financial-based accoutrements inside ventriloquist puppets. I mean, how were we to know?
No. Do you know he was buried with Orville?
Yes, in a sort of glass open coffin as well. Just a sort of like a small window, and you can still now go and see Orville's decomposing face.
Well, you know the real tragedy of that, don't you?
No, fill me in.
Orville wasn't dead.
Oh no, Ollie! Please don't shatter my. So Orville was still alive when he went in.
Yeah. I mean, they hushed it all up, of course, because no one wants to know about that. But poor old Orville. Cuddles had died, of course, years ago. He was a junkie. But poor Orville, he was looking forward to retirement. So,
my God! So you're telling me
he didn't have much say in it.
No. So you're telling me that at some point there was some innocent person going to the graveyard to pay their respects to their loved ones, and all they could hear was, "I wish I could die, but I can't." Coming from 6 foot underground. Good Lord.
That's right. It was terrifying. I mean, I was at the funeral, and I could still hear him singing as they shoveled the last piece of dirt on.
Oh, gosh, Ollie, that must be awful for you. You must wake up occasionally in a cold sweat about that sort of thing.
No, not really. I never liked him.
Oh, that's fair enough then. Yes, he was a strange old fellow, was Harris. I remember once because he never trusted banks, did he?
No.
Keith. And I remember once seeing him. He was trying out a new puppet, which I remember at the time thinking, this is very dodgy ground you're on here, Keith, because people love Orville and they love Cuddles. You've been doing them both now for near 40 years. Don't throw a brand new character into the mix. But he did. He was doing this sort of sentient sort of jacket potato from Brazil. And it just didn't work. The whole thing didn't work.
No, it was awful.
I remember he'd hollowed out this jacket potato and he put I think he was going to a bank. The only time he went into a bank was to convert loose change into folding money. And I believe in the middle of an act, he was with this bloody jacket potato that was, "Hello, senor," that sort of thing. It never really worked. And bags of bloody 2 pence, like 8 quid's worth of 2p's fell out the arse of this potato. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, loose change." And, it wasn't even funny at the time. And I remember saying to Keith afterwards, "You need to pack this one in and go back to the ones that we all love." Because this...
Yeah, I mean, he was having a nervous breakdown, Dickie.
It was very clear, wasn't it, that he was going through some absolute personal hell. But don't take that out on an audience, not a paying audience anyway.
No. The people would pay a fortune to see him as well.
Yeah, well, yes, he used to charge a premium. Yes. But yes, he spent his later years, I believe he retired to a nudist colony. He actually spent his last 2 years completely naked.
He did, and unfortunately for him, he went out very much like Rod Hull.
Oh gosh, no! Did he? What, on a roof?
No. He had a fist up a bird.
Oh right, I see. Yeah, well, there for the grace of God go us all. Yes, yes. I
We have
remember.
to stop here, of course, as a sign of mourning for the Cavendish Man, he was called, famously in the 1970s. Cavendish Man, of course, ran out to this piece of track as a protest against badgers, and was hit by a train.
Oh no! So hang on, he was against badgers, or he was for badgers?
No, he was against them.
He was just against them in general. I say the Cavendish Man. Gosh, Ollie, you are a font of information about things that happened in the past. I remember the headlines now. The Cavendish Man. And yes, he would stand on railway tracks demanding that we cull all badgers.
If you listen carefully, you can hear the driver reading a psalm from the Bible.
Oh, is he doing a little obituary? Yes. Oh, that's lovely that Southwest Trains still take the trouble to remember people like that. And of course, we're off again. That's nice that they do that, because I have to say, stopping to remember an absolute lunatic who hated Mother Nature, and for South Trains to alter their timetables to factor that in is nothing. I cannot. I take my hats off to them.
No, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, and just
He's a very sad man.
Just out of interest, oh, dreadfully sad man. But just out of interest, the train that passed us was a B9 22642. Just for those who care about such things. And we are now continuing our journey. We are now heading very close now towards West Portland, which is a strange old town, isn't it? West Portland.
Oh, it's very strange.
Yeah,
it's the world's last ghost.
Yes. Oh, and on cue, you got a bomb. Yes.
Yeah, world's last ghost. Yes.
He's
called Ducky.
Yes, the Portland Ducky. Yes. He's a spirit that often will goose a gentleman on his bottom when you're unawares. The Portland Ducky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been goosed by the Portland Ducky? I've never had the honor.
I haven't, but I know 3 people who have, and they were all in the band Let Loose.
Oh, I say yes. The only thing I remember is that everyone felt when a ghost appears, you feel a temperature drop, and all of these people felt the temperature drop about 3 inches up their anus.
That's right. Yes.
And they knew that they'd been touched by the Portland Ducky.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And you get this sort of spiritual, sort of spooky stench of lavender and some sort of jelly.
Yes, a sort of someone once said it was a sort of very much smelt like burnt Parma violets.
That's right. Yes.
Yes, and a rather chilly sensation slightly up their bottom, and that was, of course, the Portland Ducky's moniker, wasn't it? That's what he did. He goosed you. And yes, strange. And apparently it still happens to this day. I remember there was a live episode of Country File where John Craven was talking about the aqueduct there. And in the middle of the report, you can clearly see him wince. And his voice goes about 3 octaves higher briefly, where he goes, "And now back to you, Michaela." And he'd been goosed by the Portland Ducky live on air. Yeah.
So if you're ever in the area, I read somewhere that you should take cloves of garlic and a chicken nugget.
Oh, really? A chicken nugget? And you just pop them in your underpants and just hope for the best.
That's right. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's very wise. If I ever go to Portland, that's the one thing I will do. Yes. And this is a lovely wooded copse area in between Portland and the next station of interest, which is Shalley. And this is a lovely area of outstanding natural beauty. Of course, we're zipping through it now at quite a fair lick.
It reminds me. Do you remember Rainbow?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, the old TV show Rainbow. Now, I was briefly a consultant on that.
Oh,
because...
Ollie, you really have had your fingers in so many creative pies over the years.
Well, yeah, very much so, because talking of which, Rod, Jane and Freddie would branch out into doing little musical numbers. Of course, they wanted someone to come in and be some sort of advisor.
Right.
A sort of music supervisor. So I did that very briefly. I looked at the three of them and I said, you can sing all the songs you like, but the two blokes are fucking ugly. So you best get them to do something else while Jane sings.
Right. Yeah. Well, sometimes you need to tell it like it is, Ollie. And I think you took the right decision there. Sometimes people have to know.
But of course, it ended in tears because Jane was having an affair with Zippy.
Yes. Not the we must stress not the actual puppet itself, although I believe the puppet did factor somewhat in their lovemaking.
The puppet did sometimes factor in the lovemaking, yes.
Yes, but the puppeteer, of course, we're talking about. Yes, that must have caused a rather strange atmosphere on set.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Because, of course, as the episodes progressed, Zippy became more and more infatuated with Jane. And the other hand, you couldn't see, was often sort of wandering sadly. And sometimes he'd get it wrong because he was operating Zippy and he'd touch Rod's bottom.
By mistake.
Now, or he'd pass a note to Freddie to say, I can't wait to take you up above the clouds and houses tonight.
Oh, good Lord, yes. And yes, that creates a friction atmosphere that maybe might go over children's heads, but adults will certainly pick it up when they're watching the show.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey was beside himself. He was very upset. Because, of course, he was in love with Zippy.
Yeah, well, that's the sad thing, isn't it? He was besotted by this sort of khaki stroke sandy coloured piece of cloth.
And we should reiterate, in the case of Jeffrey, it wasn't the performer, it was the puppet.
It was the act. No, absolutely no. We must make this absolutely clear in case lawyers get involved. This was he was in love with the puppet. Absolutely, yes. He even had his body when the poor man died was covered in zippy tattoos. Oh, I think we might have frozen a little bit there, Ollie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we did. You're back now, though. Yes.
Yes, I was just saying when Jeffrey died, his body was found completely covered in zippy tattoos.
Oh, head to toe.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. What a shame.
He had a very unfortunate one on his bottom where he had a zip tattooed around his bum cheeks.
Yes. Nobody wants to see that.
He used to lie down sideways and move his bum cheeks up and down and say, "Oh no!" And it was very, very humiliating.
No, again, well, once more we're going back into Davro territory. That's the sort of thing he'd pull out during a mixed finger buffet and put everyone off their dessert. No, you're absolutely right. There's just no need. It's such a shame when those wonderful entertainers sort of fall down that particular hole and they can't crawl out of it quick enough. And
well, everybody has a dark side, Dickie. We can't hold that against people.
No, you are absolutely right, Ollie. We have all done things that we slightly regret.
I
mean,
well,
well, you say you haven't, but I'm sure there's a few skeletons knocking around in your closet. Good Lord, did you hear when that train went past? It tooted its horn. And the sound of the horn almost sounded like wigwam.
I did, and that's something that we used to shout, if you remember.
When
we would take the train, and we'd had a few too many cognacs.
Yes, wigwam. Then, of course, we were told to stop by several of the conductors, and of course, we kept it down to a minimum at that point.
5 or 6 more times, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and here, as promised, we are now passing rather gently through Chalet. Shalley is predominantly a town noted for its wool. It produces pretty much most of the wool in the southeastern area of the UK. Interesting fact about Shalley: it has more wool shops than it actually does supermarkets or anything of worth.
That's right. Yes.
So a lot of people. Yes, a lot of people move to Shalley thinking it's going to be beautiful, and then realize that there are 5 to 7 wool shops to any other shop, and they quickly realize that getting a pint of milk in Shalley is an absolute bloody nightmare. You'd probably get a cardigan knitting pattern far easier.
Well, Dickie, that is why they call it a very tight knit community.
Ollie! Wonderful. Tight knit community. Oh dear. Yes, I suppose if you pass wind in Shalley, you drop one pearl one. I didn't quite know where that joke was going to go.
No, who told you that joke?
Oh no, I just made it up on the spot, Ollie.
Oh.
I was trying to chase under your magnificent edifice of a joke, and unfortunately, I got cast under its shadow and didn't quite rise to the occasion. But there you go. Oh dear. Anyway, that's Shalley dealt with. So we just have the major stop of Brigden St. Lyme, and then we'll be in Southampton. A little bit of time yet to enjoy the journey, and I do hope that the people at home are enjoying this journey with us.
Yes, and I do apologise for my technical difficulties. I'm sadly the Flow took the best computer in the divorce, so
yeah, of course, yes. And are you and Flo on amicable terms now, or are you still?
No, it's rather gone sour, I'm afraid. Yeah, yeah. She when she came home the other day, and she found lots of letters that I'd written her while I was quite depressed, and she took them rather badly, I'm afraid.
Well, were they personal diatribes?
Oh, yes, I would say so. They were, I'd like to cut this off and chop that down. And I mean, I was talking about the trees in the garden, but she took it very personally.
Right. She misconstrued the whole thing. And yes. Well, yes, cross wires as it was. Yeah. So that's a shame.
It is a shame. Talking of cross wires, because when in the divorce, she got custody of my exact replica of Johnny Five from Short Circuit that I bought in good faith in the mid-1980s.
Yes, and not only in good faith, but from Adam Faith, I believe, who sold it to you.
That's right. Yeah, I bought that from Adam Faith, who sold it to me, and by the end, I was using it more as a kind of personal home computer. And of course, she got.
Yes, I remember. Oh, good Lord! So she has Five alive, as it was, in her house. She's probably got it as some poor old bloody butler, knowing Flo.
Knowing Flo is running around after, I'd imagine.
Yes, probably doing chores all day and
picking up her knickers.
Yes, writing suicide notes in binary. Oh, poor thing. What a shame. Yes, the one thing that Five isn't is alive. It's dead behind the eyes. Of course, it never.
Oh, very much. It plugs in at the wall, so it's nothing. There's nothing independent about it.
Oh, good Lord. Poor road. What was the name of him again? Five. I can't remember.
Johnny Five.
Johnny Five. Poor old Johnny Five, having to spend the rest of his days looking after your awful ex-bloody wife, Flo.
Based on Johnny Ball, of course.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. No. Of course. Yes. Lovely Johnny.
Although, talking of the nudist camps, he was very keen in revealing all.
Oh, well, I hope he didn't go to a nudist camp with Mr. Harris and, think of a number. We'll bend over. Look, well, there's a 0.
I did ask Tony Hart if he ever attended these events, but of course, he wouldn't be drawn on it, Ollie. Dickie, sorry.
Ollie, you are on fire tonight, sir. You really are.
It's just a rumor, Dickie. No, I've had a good week because I've gone into the studio again because you remember I was telling you the house was being fumigated.
Yes, of course, with your bed bug problem. Yes,
Bed bug problem. Yes. Well, I managed to get into the studio this week, and I've been tasked with remastering an old album I worked on by a band. I don't know if I told you last week. A band called Werewolf.
Werewolf, yes, Werewolf, and you're doing. Oh, we had a little bit of a break there in the. Yes, I believe you're going to do a sort of reissue of Werewolf. Is that right? You're going to do all the songs, but you're doing the whole thing with maracas. Is that right?
That's right. Maracas, shaky eggs, and a pair of castanets.
Wow! So that's going to have quite the sort of rudimentary clicky beat to it. That it's going to be a toe tapper, I believe.
Well, it's been good for the old cardiovascular. I told my doctor about it, and he thought it was a marvelous idea.
Yes, of course. Yes. And with your shingles, that's the sort of thing that gets you up and about. And this is Werewolf. They only did one album, and I believe it was a concept album. So the thing's about 3 hours long. So that must be exhausting for you on the old castanet.
It really is. And you know what? I've never felt fitter in my life.
Oh, well, that's wonderful, Ollie. I'm absolutely green with envy because what with my shattered femur stroke hip on one side and now my sort of gangrene foot on the other, I'm very much a static caravan that is Dickie Moon. Yes.
But you still, I mean, at least you have your fax machine. I mean, you'd be lost without that, wouldn't you?
I'd be lost without the fax. Yes. I was trying desperately a few days ago to fax over my nectar points to Sainsbury's, but they will not accept the fax.
Oh, really?
And I've been saving them now for 2 years. 2 years.
Well,
Ollie.
Dickie, there's a trick around that. You can just email them your fax.
Yes, well, of course, Oh, yeah. No, gosh, I never even thought of that. Yes, all right. Well, I'll do that then. I'll email them all my fax details, and then they'll be able to get on with that, won't they?
That's right. They'll get in touch with you on the fax.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I hope so because, as I say, I've been sort of. As I say, Konstantin has been. He's been doing his best, but what with the part-time Zoom clowning, and of course, he's constantly has a guest, shall we say, staying. And I'm not one to judge. It's absolutely fine. I've had a look at his Grindr page, and actually, it looks rather nice. I have to say the shading and the bordering on some of the pictures are absolutely beautiful. But he's constantly got people round, and which means he doesn't have enough time to maybe service my needs. Not those sort of needs, Ollie. Food and drink needs. Food and drink needs.
What is Grindr, Dickie? Is it some sort of blacksmith thing or a metalwork?
No, if I say, Ollie, if you joined Grindr, you'd your eyes would certainly widen. It's a dating based app for your mobile phone for the gay community, and you swipe left or right according to pictures of men that you would like to spend the evening with.
I see. Going for dinner, that sort of thing.
Yes, dinner and a dance. If you consider docking as dancing.
Well, blow me.
Yeah, well, indeed. He was telling me about Konstantin likes to meet similar gentlemen who are into docking. And I don't know if you're aware of what docking is. Oh,
so he's a sailing man, is he?
Well, he meets a few people from that persuasion down the dock side, but he does a thing. And as far as I'm concerned, Ollie, each to their own. As long as they're not hurting anyone, it's absolutely fine. I just thought that they just get on to some, traditional, buggery like any other red-blooded English gentleman would do. A little bit of casual buggery never hurt anyone, quite frankly.
No. I mean, it doesn't matter, does it, Dickie? I mean,
it doesn't matter.
gay or straight or whatever, as long as you're having a nice time and not hurting anybody, where's the harm?
Everyone bloody did it when I was young. In the 50s and 60s, buggery was as common as Benson and Hedges. Yes.
Fitbit.
Yes, exactly. But he's into this thing called docking, which is, and he explained it to me. He showed me some pictures. Well, he showed me an awful amount of pictures to me. Well, he didn't. He showed them to me. He sort of put his arm out of the bay window, and I had to sort of put the picture together as best I could. And apparently, what Constantine's into, and he's really into this. He absolutely adores it. And it seems perfectly harmless, really. Is two gentlemen put their erect members together, almost like a sort of like you're trying to put them together to sort of conduct electricity, but of course it's not that. And once the two members have been put together, what they do is they gently unfurl their foreskins betwixt each member back and forth, and that's known as the docking.
Good grief.
Yes, it's absolutely marvelous what the kids get up to these days. Good Lord. And
Good God.
he likes to do that, which I just think, well, this is as long as he's not hurting anyone. And so they do that. I just said, well, what, don't you actually have sex or anything? He went, no, just a bit of docking. And I was like, oh gosh, I mean, if I was doing it, I'd be straight into the hammer and tongs at it. But no, it's just docking with Constantine. And apparently there's something he does called wet docking. You unfurl one foreskin onto the other and then urinate into the other person's foreskin to inflate the area as much as you can with the urine. And then you let that dispense itself, as it were, onto whatever soft furnishings you have underneath you, or whether, I don't know whether they maybe do it in the bath. That's possibly where I would do my docking, in the bath, so the urine or any other fluids fall naturally into the porcelain container, and they could be sluiced away hygienically.
I'd imagine that would like something from the Blitz with the old balloons up in the air.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right, Ollie. But that's Constantine's thing, apparently. And
good for him. He seems like a lovely chap.
He's a wonderful. Listen, as I say, the clowning is rather sort of short on the ground at the moment, and as I say, the scar doesn't help because it sort of cuts through the eye, and half the eye is milky. But apparently, that he says it makes him look a little bit mysterious. But he has up to 3 or 4 gentlemen callers a day, and they dock, and then they undock, and then in between that, he does his best to keep old Dicky and hot food and beverages. So
no bloody wonder he's got a red nose, is it?
Yes, a port nose, as it were. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
Do they say port out, starboard home, that sort of thing? When
I'm not entirely sure if they use any nautical terms during this particular.
I like to imagine that they sing sort of do 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 while they're doing it.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? To do a bit of the sailor's hornpipe and maybe say something like "Land ahoy" or something. I don't know. I've no idea, Ollie. I've not gone that far into it. But the next time I speak to Constantine, which will be tomorrow, I'll say yes. Do you use Navy-based terms?
Please do, 'cause I'd really like to hear.
It is absolutely fascinating, isn't it, Ollie? What people can get up to.
We don't hear anything about what's going on these days.
We have no idea anymore, do we, Ollie? We're old-fashioned chaps. It was just, hello, how are you? Do you fancy a quick knee trembler? And then you were off down to the club for cognac and pans people, and you were home by 10, and that was it. Maybe a quick toot on a doobie, and that was about as far as we went.
Well, that was as far as I wanted to go, but I think it's eye-opening what can happen these days, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, literally.
Yeah. Well, Constantine told me that he has a friend who is rather into iglooing, and he told me what that was, and I will not repeat it.
Right.
It is absolutely foul.
And this sort of thing goes on under your roof, but at least you know he's safe.
No. Constantine
No.
has drawn a line under iglooing.
Mm-hmm.
He won't do it anymore. He did dabble, and he went, no, not for me. According to him, he said it's too much admin.
Oh God, I've just realised I made a total social faux pas with him last time.
Oh no.
Well, I asked him how Pingu was, because I lent him a Pingu DVD years ago.
Oh.
And he gave me such a look. He must have thought I was asking about some sort of act.
Oh no. Well, yes, you see, with his broken English, he might have taken that the wrong way. Although I will say this, Ollie, he hasn't said anything to me. So
Okay.
I think you should be. I think you're okay. So yes, I won't. I mean, just for those people who really need to know, iglooing is when you is when you freeze your feces, roll them up in cling film as some sort of rudimentary dildo, and you use that on your partner. That's all I'll say.
Good God.
You can imagine the rest.
I think I'd need a rest after that.
Yes, indeed. I'd have to put my feet up and be watching Countdown, or what's that dreadful show where people go to a sort of tropical island and they all drop like flies? Love Island? No, that's not it.
No. Lost?
Death in Paradise. That's the one.
Oh, right, yeah.
I adore Death in Paradise. Do you, Wally? Have you seen this show?
Yes, I have. It's lovely.
During these awful times, it's so lovely just to sit back and look at the wonderful tropical view. I mean, obviously, the whole island is an absolute fucking death trap, but it's a beautiful thing to watch during these times. It really makes me miss travel, especially with you, Ollie, because we've taken several railway holidays together over the last 10 years, haven't we now?
Many railway holidays.
Yes, and we might feature some of those routes on shows.
Yes, we managed to get some footage of one or two, didn't we? So
yes, so we might do that. But at the moment, we're sticking to the good old British of A, as they say. But we will hopefully go to more foreign climes in the future if we get the right audiences.
I've got all of it saved on Rick Wakeman's camcorder.
Oh, how wonderful! So you managed to get the whole thing.
He gave me a little tape with all of it on. So
sorry, I was just sneezing there because
you're thinking of igloos.
No, good Lord, no! I've been doing more than sneezing. I think I've been retching. I'm sneezing because I think I might have an allergy to the interior, the varnish. Oh, good Lord, we've stopped. Southampton. And I'm out. Oh, good Lord, I'm on camera. Oh, Ollie, take me off. Oh, good Lord.
I can't.
You can't. Oh no, hang on.
No.
There we go. A rudimentary knob of blue tack has solved that. Well, Ollie, we were gabbing on and having so much fun. We plumb forgot about the fact that we'd arrived in Southampton.
Oh, good God. How could we forget?
How could we forget? Well, it's been, an absolute joy of joys as ever, Ollie, to do this journey with you. I have a suspicion that this particular show that we're doing, I know we're only 2 episodes in, but I have a feeling that this is going to be at the top of the iTunes charts in the next week.
I think so too, because I looked at the iTunes chart the other day and I didn't understand any of it. So this should be top, really.
This will do very well because it gives people everything that they need. It gives them railway journeys, and it gives them a little nuggets or pearls of wisdom from yours truly, Dickie Moon, and the wonderful Ollie Sachs along pastoral rolling scenes. And who doesn't need that during these rather awful times, Ollie?
I wish I could tell you, because I'm so out of touch. I'm still thinking about the docking and the iglooing. I'm very confused.
Yes, I am slightly sort of sad that we maybe plumbed some rather unsavory depths during our Waterloo to Southampton journey. But you know what? As we the fact that we tackled such subjects as docking and iglooing as we approach Southampton seems fitting, because Southampton, of course, is a cesspool.
It's a real shithole.
Absolute S-hole. So I'm glad weirdly the jigsaw puzzle fitted, and I'm really happy that we have come to the end of our second journey. What are you doing for the rest of your evening, Ollie? Anything interesting?
Well, I was thinking about getting an old cigar that I've been saving for a special occasion. Yes, and I'm smoking it while drinking a nice brandy, and maybe putting on a kimono and having a big whack.
Right. Well, that is certainly visually. Yes, I know exactly what you're. Yeah, well, each to their own. I've managed because as I say, my leg is still elevated, and unfortunately, I had a pack of Jaffa cakes that had become waterlogged during the flooding, and what I've done is I've put 6 Jaffa cakes in betwixt each of my digits of my toe. Using the natural caked dried natural yogurt for purchase, and I think they've dried out admirably. So I'm now holding in my right foot 6 Jaffa cakes now betwixt each toe. So I'm probably going to boil up a lovely cup of Ovaltine and enjoy these Jaffa cakes.
But also the Jaffa cakes provide security for you, because if you were to become the victim of her home invasion, you could simply flick your foot and they would become Japanese throwing stars.
Yes. The blue tack fell. Yes. No. I will use them as some sort of rudimentary throwing star. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, they pierce the flesh of your intruders.
Yes, and also it's the only time you can kill someone, and also slightly cure them, because it's full of vitamin C. So there you go. Well, thank you, Ollie, for your companionship on this journey.
Thank you, Dickie. Yes.
And we'll be back soon with another roaring railway route. We do hope that you've enjoyed the journey with us.
I do believe I heard on the radio this morning that the JP special, this show that the young people enjoy, will be back next Friday night at 9:00. Yeah.
Yes. But I've no idea what you're plugging. I presume it's some sort of band, hippies, or God knows what. But I hope they do well. Everyone deserves to do well during this rather perishing time.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm just going to have another quick slurp of my homemade damson wine. Oh, that is brackish. And I bid you a good night, Ollie, and we'll speak soon, yes?
A good night, Dickie, and good night, everyone.
Good night, Ollie. Good night, all, and see you soon on Roaring Railway Routes. Yes!